Good morning everyone and welcome back to another video. It has been a minute since I made a video, but I think that this one was worth the wait. This one's gonna be pretty good, so let's get straight into it. Today we are going to be ranking my 2024 reads. I read 28 books in 2024. There's still time left. It's only December 28th and I'm currently reading Sky Shade by Alex Astor, which is the third book in the Lightlark trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. This might be the last book. I don't know because I am not done yet. I am almost there. So I'm hoping to finish this before New Year's so that I can have 29 books on my read for 2024, but we'll see. So today we're only ranking 28, but if I was to already have to rank this, it would be very high up. So let's just say that. I don't know if I want to start off with the worst book that I read or the best book. If we should work to lower our spirits or... Let's start from worst to best. So actually the worst one that I read this year, in my opinion, was Done and Dusted, which I don't have the physical copy, so it's gonna be right here. I did not enjoy that book. I wanted there to be some type of plot. I'm not gonna give spoilers, or at least I'm gonna try. I wanted there to be a plot, and I found none. It was just smut. And last year me probably would have enjoyed that, actually. I used to love smutty, spicy books. But this year I am not feeling it. So I did not enjoy that book. That was my worst read of the year. Next on one of my worst reads of the year is These Violent Delights, which I put this off for years. This was so popular on Book Talk or Bookstagram just like a few years back, actually. So I've had it for that long. I just never got around to it because I was like, oh, I wonder if it's gonna live up to the hype. It didn't. Felt that there was no unity to the book. It was kind of all around. I was very much confused. I gave this book like a 2 stars, maybe 1.5. And I'm not alone. I talked to my friend about this and she totally agrees. She hated this book. It actually made her stop reading. Yeah, this book did not live up to the hype, and I'm probably going to get rid of it because I don't want this on my shelf. Next might be an unpopular opinion. A Court of Frost and Starlight. This is one of the novellas in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I just could not get into it. I was just wanting to get it over with so I could get to the next book. But if it makes you happier, this is like the lowest rated of all of the A Court of Thorns and Roses. Like this one, all the rest are pretty high up on my list, but this one did not do it for me. Next up, I actually listened to on Audible was the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. I just thought it was so cute, but once again, I couldn't really get super connected to the characters. There was just something about it missing. Next up on the list is going to be Icebreaker. I just didn't really enjoy it. I thought I would in the beginning because it looked like a very cute book, but of course the covers are a lie. It was a very spicy book. Even I think the first chapter was spicy. So it was just not my favorite book, and that is why I rated it pretty low. Next up is 9 Liars, which is part of the Truly Devious series, which I love. Truly Devious, I read that last year. That's a whole trilogy. And then after that there's some breakaway. It's still with the main character, but it's not set at the Ellingham Academy. That one kind of threw me for a loop. I didn't really like the plot twist at the end. It felt like I could anticipate it, so it just wasn't my favorite. This one breaks my heart because I love the Inheritance games. I mean, it's right here. Love that whole trilogy, but just I feel like authors feel like they have to make a spin-off, and you don't. You don't have to make a spin-off. Like, leave the trilogy. It was really good. Leave it where it was. But no. We had to have another one. This book was just a behemoth. I did enjoy it. There is plot twists throughout. There's a plot twist at the end. I really like Jameson's point of view throughout it, like what he was having to do in the book. But aside from that, I could not really get into it like I did the Inheritance games. Like the Inheritance games, I was hanging on every word, every like thread. This one I could put down, go do other stuff, and be like, oh, I need to finish this book. But it wasn't my worst read. If you did really enjoy the Inheritance game series, you may enjoy this because everyone loves Jameson and Grayson. it just wasn't for me. Next up is The Box in the Woods. So this is also a part of the Truly Devious series, but once again, this is another spin-off. Nine Liars was actually worse on the scale for me. I didn't much mind this one. I couldn't figure out the plot twist, but also that's what kind of made me mad, was there was no hint at all to who it was. So there was no way to figure it out. And in a mystery, I kind of like having the ability to maybe figure it out, like the author drops hints here and there, but this one there was no way you were gonna guess it. So I mean, points for creativity, but it just was not my favorite. Oops. Powerless by Lauren Roberts. You may notice I tabbed it up quite a bit, but in terms of whenever I think of top fantasy books, would I think of this one? No, I wouldn't. I haven't even picked up the next book. Probably won't unless it's like on Audible or something. It just wasn't my favorite. I don't know what to describe about it, because obviously I tapped it up. I enjoyed it when I read it. I think it's because the hype was so big. I was reading it with two of my other friends. But in terms of would I read the next book, would I reread this? Probably not, so that's why it's kind of low on my list. Next up is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. This one is higher than the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore because I really got into this one. This was the first one that I actually listened to. I listened to it on Audible, and I just really enjoyed the chemistry. I really felt it in this one, and so that one was super cute. It just wasn't my top read. I just think I'm not that much into romance anymore. If you are a huge romance reader, you would love this book, but I am more of a fantasy reader, so it isn't my top book. Next up is Butcher and Blackbird. I absolutely ate this up. I read this so quickly because it reminds me of Dexter, and I have been obsessed with Dexter since I started watching it. In my Dexter era, you could say. This book totally captured that. I really enjoyed this. Would really recommend this, actually. It's just, once again, I'm not a big romance reader, so that's why it's a little lower on my list, because my fantasy books are definitely at the top. But this one was actually so cute. The spice was definitely there, but because I was aware of it, it didn't really throw me for a loop, so that's why it's okay. The Hand on the Wall, part of the Truly Devious series. This is the last book of the Truly Devious series, in like where they're at Ellingham Academy. I love this book. I really like the ending. I think it definitely threw me for a loop. Once again, I don't think I was gonna be able to guess it, but I've just been so invested with this series that I didn't really care how she ended it as long as it was a good plot twist, and it was. So definitely read the Truly Devious series. Next up we have Magnolia Parks. Everyone went crazy over this, so I bought it. I picked it up I want to say last year, and I got like 60 pages and I was like, the writing style is not for me, so I put it back down, and then I tried it again this year, and I actually really enjoyed it. The book itself was really awesome. I really got attached to Magnolia and JB. Is that it? I actually do forget. That's my bad. BJ, my bad. I actually really got attached to the characters. I was just getting so mad throughout it, because if you read the book, then I'm sure you understand why you would get upset at this book. But I have not read the other series, and I don't think I will, because I want these covers, and I saw the new covers, and they're kind of ugly. Is that judging a book by its cover? Yes, it is. But also this book took me a while to get through, so I think I'll just enjoy it as it was, keep that memory, and not continue the series. A Touch of Darkness. This one was a random one. I just threw this one in here because I was like, I'm in a Greek mythology mood, so let me just pick this up. I love this. Hades x Persephone. Yes. I want to get the other ones in the series, even though I think there's a lot. There's like 5 more or something. But this book was really good, especially for romance. You would think I wouldn't like it that much, but Greek mythology, I have a soft spot in my heart for Greek mythology, so this one is definitely higher on my list. Okay, this one was a little lower on my list than the rest of the series, just because I thought it was way too long for the plot. It's majority just training. I don't think that's a spoiler. It was majority just training. You know, the stairs. If you've read it, you know. I just felt like there could have been a lot more plot for this big of a book. So that's my only reason that I rated it a little lower was I felt like she was just trying to fill space. But I will read the next one in the series when it comes out. So, okay, we're working our way up a little more. We're almost in the top 10. Next up is These Infinite Threads by Tahereh Mafi. Tahereh Mafi is my auto-buy author. Anything that she writes, I will buy it. And that's exactly the case here. So there is a book before this. This is part of the Woven Kingdom trilogy. So this is the second book. And I actually can't remember what happens in this book. I just know it was good because I vividly remember as soon as I finished this, I ran to Barnes & Noble and bought the next book. The next book is All This Twisted Glory. I believe it's the third and final one. Also, beautiful cover. But I just remember that I ran to get it. So I'm guessing that I really enjoyed These Infinite Threads. I'm sure if I just like reread the synopsis or whatever, I would remember. But I have not done that. Let's do that now. I remember. I did enjoy this. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to read like spark notes though on it because I remember very vaguely. Before I read that next book, I probably need to get caught up on this one. But that one is up there. If you want a good fantasy series, Tahereh Mafi is always a good choice. Next up is Apprentice to the Villain. What? The Villain? Okay, anyways. I love this book. I especially like the first one. This is the second one in the series. This book was really good. I think it could have had a little more action, a little more plot twist just because following the first book, but I understand. There's a third one coming. I'm gonna be patient. You just want a good laugh, the slowest burn in history romance. If you want that, that's in here. Comedy in this is amazing, but also there's a lot of action. It's not just all jokes. There's like love and slow burn, of course, but there's action. I just really enjoy this book and I think you would too. Next up is The Summer of Broken Rules. I know, a fantasy book that's actually kind of high on my list. This one I believe I read at the peak of summer, of course, and I just really enjoyed it. I just thought it was so lighthearted, just good feeling. It's just a good book, so I think that you should read it. I like how I'm trying to convince y'all to read books instead of just telling you my ranking and you can decide from there. I'm trying to redeem myself with the ACOTAR fans who are watching this. Crescent City. I really enjoyed this. I know that this is a different series than A Court of Thorns and Roses, but got this book for free from my friend. Shout out Lexi. She gave this to me because she had two and she just wasn't gonna read it because of how big it is, and I read it. Well, I audibled it because there's no way I was gonna finish this year. I mean, if I had read this, I wouldn't have read another book this year. I would still be on this. So I did audible it. And sometimes Audible, for some reason, makes my ratings drop a little bit. I guess because I'm not as immersed, because, you know, I'm either driving or cleaning, so I can't really listen that well. But this one had me locked in. This one really did surprise me. This one is very high on my list this year. I think I gave this like a 4 out of 5. I think there was just like something missing that kept it from a 5 for me, but I will be continuing the series, best believe. Guys, should I try and read it physical? Don't say yes. Next is One Dark Window, and I'm beating myself up about this because I don't really remember what happens, and I know I loved it because I was telling all my friends about it, and I started listening to Two Twisted Crowns, I think is the next one, yes, because this book was so good. I mean, I remember like the monster and stuff, but that's about it. I don't really remember all that happens. And it's breaking my heart because I know that I enjoyed this, which is why it's so high on my list. And the reason I don't remember it is because I was like, well, let me just do a little gap filler and read ACOTAR. And then I ended up enjoying ACOTAR, and so I got the whole series. And y'all seen how big that series is, so I forgot what happens in this book. I'm gonna read a spark notes, whatnot, and hopefully read the next book soon. Next, like I already shouted out, is Assistant to the Villain. Once again, this one is one of my top reads. It was so funny. I just love a good book that you can just laugh at and not wonder if your favorite character is gonna die every second, which is what I experience as a fantasy reader. Now here's my true redemption. Placing at number 7 is A Court of Wings and Ruin. I really enjoyed this. I think this one is about the war. It is. I do remember. Once again, these are such long books that it's so easy for me to forget what they were actually about. I just remember that I enjoyed them. Okay. Let me start writing in my book journal again so that next year I actually remember why I like these books. But this is the third one in the ACOTAR series, and I really enjoyed it. So once again, I think you should read ACOTAR. Next up, A Court of Mist and Fury. I actually almost put this in front of ACOTAR. Well, you can guess what was next. I actually almost put this one in front of ACOTAR on my ranking list, just because this one I feel like really made me dive into the world more so, but I had to place ACOTAR first because it is the one that fully, got me interested in the series. So you have to give credit to the first book for doing its job and making you want to read the other ones. Okay, we're on the last 4, and these are my favorite books of the entire year. Once again, as I said, Lightlark. You have to go read Lightlark. I'm reading Skyshade right now. Lightlark is one of my favorite fantasy books of the year. I just picked it up as a filler book once again, and I loved it. Oh my gosh, I've had this on my shelf for so long. I had no idea what beautiful worlds and characters awaited me inside. So thank you, Alex Astor. And then actually coming out at number 3 is Nightbane, which is the second book in the Lightlark series. I don't know, there's something about this one, Team Oro, that made me really enjoy it just a little bit more than Lightlark. Okay, we're on our top 2, and these were actually the hardest for me to figure out the placement and the ranking for, but at number 2, Finale by Stephanie Garber. This is part of the Caraval trilogy. This was the ending book, obviously Finale, and it was so good. I love Tella, I love Jex, I of course love Legend. All of them are just amazing in this. I'm trying to remember. I think that this book made me cry, but I can't remember why. But that's how you know it was good. And coming out at number 1, Legendary by Stephanie Garber, and it lives up to its name. Once again, Stephanie Garber is a auto-buy author. I have all the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, but Legendary, part of the Caraval trilogy, is, oh my gosh, this was my favorite book of the year. I wish I could go back and read this for the first time. I wish I could go into this world, but sometimes dreams can't come true. So, oh my gosh, I bent it. I'm using some serious balancing skills right now. This is all on my knee, which is now falling asleep. I am actually super proud of the books that I read this year. It's not as many as I read last year, but it is thicker books than I read last year. So technically, it's as many books as I would have read because this is like 2 books. Crescent City is like 2 books together. Yes, these are all the books that I read in 2024. Ranked. Tell me in the comments if you agree with my ranking or disagree, and maybe I will give one of the lesser ranked ones another try. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed, and hopefully more book videos coming in 2025. Bye guys!